Guys who've watched Squid Game 2, come and give your 2 cents worth. Let's talk about 2 scenes in the show today and figure out which one tests human nature more. In the third game, everyone's standing on the spinning wheel, so nervous that they don't even dare to budge an inch. But that Thanos guy is actually holding Namgyo's hand, dancing around in rhythm. Then, out of the blue, the wheel stops, and the loudspeaker announces that only groups of 4 can enter the room to win. But Thanos' group has 5 people. At this moment, that fan named Kyung-soo quickly shows his loyalty, saying he's been Thanos' fan for 5 years. But Thanos just says, "Kyung-soo, you out!" and kicks him out. Then he happily cheers and rushes into the room with the other 4. Poor Kyung-soo. He's been so loyal to Thanos, going to every concert. He's a total die-hard fan. But at this crucial moment, he's tossed aside without a second thought. Thanos finds an empty room, goes in, and says how exciting it was just now. And then, as the Squid Game countdown ends, the gates automatically lock. Thanos suddenly yells, blaming everyone. What a forgetful guy. Just a minute ago, he was the one who kicked Kyung-soo out. Now he acts like he doesn't remember at all. Hearing the intense gunshots, Thanos pushes Namgyu away, leans out of the window, and yells Kyung-soo like he's heartbroken. But Kyung-soo, lying on the ground, is totally confused. "Boss, wasn't it you who kicked me out?" And then Kyung-soo is gone. Thanos really shows the dark side of human nature. But there's another scene in the show that tests human nature even more. That's the scene with the salesman. When the salesman meets Gi-hun, Gi-hun keeps calling him lackey, which really gets the salesman angry. "How dare a nobody like you look down on me?" The salesman and Gi-hun start playing Russian roulette. The probability is 1/6, and they don't spin the wheel again, so it gets more dangerous each time. The first shooter has a bit of an advantage. The salesman spins the gun, and when it slowly stops, it's pointing at Gi-hun. But Gi-hun has that main character luck. He shoots the first shot, and it's an empty chamber. Now it's the salesman's turn to shoot the second shot. He's so tense that his whole body is shaking. And guess what? It's another empty gun. He gives a creepy smile, and with the red light from the window on his face, he looks more like a monster than a person. The probability of the third shot becomes 1/4, but it's still an empty gun. The salesman is puzzled. He says he can't figure out how Gi-hun, who's so bad at playing Dokji, could win the Squid Game. This shows that the salesman has the right to go out freely. However, he has a non-disclosure clause, so he doesn't abstain what really goes on in the Squid Game. The salesman points the gun at Gi-hun, then suddenly turns the gun around and shoves it into his own mouth. This guy is really into the game. He pulls the trigger hard and Gi-hun flinches, thinking the salesman's head is about to explode. But hey, the salesman wins this bet. Now the probability is down to 1/2. Gi-hun hesitates. The salesman starts tempting him. "Why not just shoot me? You can kill me in at most 2 tries." He really knows the dark side of human nature. He even lures Gi-hun with the words,
보고 싶어 하시는 그분을 만날 수 있는 방법이 제 주머니에 있습니다.
But if Gi-hun does it, he'll be breaking the game rules. He doesn't want to be a nobody or a lackey, so he refuses. The salesman is smug, thinking he's got this in the bag, but then Gi-hun suddenly points the gun at himself. His veins are popping out. There's a bang. And it scares the salesman. He thinks Gi-hun's really going to die this time, but that's the main character's luck for him. Even with a 100% chance of getting shot, there's a misfire. Gi-hun takes back the upper hand and even hands the gun forward. This is the last shot of the Russian roulette. Now it's Gi-hun's turn to mock.
생각이 많아졌나?
He uses the exact same words the salesman used to persuade him, but if the salesman doesn't follow the game rules, he'll be a nobody and a lackey. The camera focuses on his face. Although he doesn't say anything, you can see his struggle from his micro-expressions. What's more important, honor or life? Finally, he actually smiles and shoots. And just like that, the salesman's character is gone, becoming a victim of the game. Gong Yu, even though he's just a guest star in the show and only appears for about 20 minutes, his acting is amazing. He plays this salesman as crazy and complex. He's willing to bet his own life, not caring about winning or losing, just wanting to play with people's minds. Imagine if one day you're so broke that you only have the clothes on your back and have to sleep on the street every day. Then a salesman comes up to you, friendly-like, and gives you a choice. One is a delicious loaf of bread, and the other is a lottery ticket worth 1 billion won. Which one would you choose? A loaf of bread won't fill you up, but a lottery ticket could be the ticket to becoming a multimillionaire. What if you win? You'd be set for life. That's what most homeless people think. The homeless guy is acting crazy, scratching the lottery ticket with a coin. But as soon as he finishes scratching, he's disappointed. They always have this false hope, thinking they can win big right away. That's why they end up losing everything in life. This had nothing to do with the salesman's job in the Squid Game. It's just his relaxation game. Outside of work, when there's no real risk, human greed just goes wild. Out of so many homeless people, only one chooses the bread. This is actually a reflection of the Squid Game. The bread is like the prize money that the contestants could split evenly, and the lottery ticket is like the 45.6 billion won grand prize. Only one person can win it, but everyone thinks they could be the one. Maybe at first, the contestants don't have enough money to pay off their debts. But later on, even though they can vote to quit and get enough money to pay off their debts, many still don't want to leave. Even though they're scared of being killed, when they see all that money falling into the piggy bank, they just can't resist. Every contestant is thinking, since someone's going to get this 45.6 billion won, why not me? The salesman dumps the bread on the ground in public. One of the homeless guys felt so bad about it that he wanted to reach out and grab it, but the salesman just steps on it with his foot because he already gave the homeless guys a choice. You can't have both the bread and the lottery ticket. It's not the salesman who gave up the bread, but the homeless guys themselves. Just like what the old man, the game initiator, said in the first season, I never forced the contestants. Even the game manager, the guy numbered 1 in the second season, though he turned a blind eye to the organ trafficking all along, he didn't allow his underlings to spoil the game. If anyone violated this rule, he'd just kill them and put their bodies on display, saying that he had to ensure the fairness and justice of the game. But as the management side of the game, they all seem to have such strong belief in the Squid Game. They think there's nothing wrong with the game itself. The contestants' fates are all their own doing. You bet, you lose. But it makes you wonder, is this game really fair? The salesman makes his first appearance in the first season. He comes to Gi-hun, the main character, and says he wants to play Dokji with him. If Gi-hun wins once, he can get 100,000 won. Gi-hun thinks he's some kind of pyramid scheme guy and gets so scared that he quickly takes out a pistol to threaten him. That scares the salesman so much that he raises his hands high. Probably that's the most flustered moment in his career. Who would have known that it's just a lighter that Gi-hun grabbed from the claw machine? That really makes the salesman laugh. He lets out a sigh of relief and then opens his suitcase right away. It's full of thick stacks of cash. When Gi-hun sees that, he agrees immediately. But guess what? He loses the first round and says, "But I don't have any money on me." What to do without money? Well, he pays with slaps instead. The salesman slaps him hard, and the sound is so crisp. Lee Jung-jae, who plays Gi-hun, is actually the boss of Gong-yoo, who plays the salesman. Could it be that Gong-yoo agrees to make a guest appearance just so he can slap his boss? In the second season, the salesman is still doing his old job, testing those people who are deep in debt. A slap is worth 100,000 won. Those people who owe a ton of money are all gamblers. For the sake of money, they can just flush their dignity down the toilet in a second. The salesman also records people's embarrassing moments with hidden cameras. For those rich sponsors who are watching the game, it's like an appetizer. After several rounds of screening, the people who are invited to participate in the game are basically those whose greed outweighs their fear. They are all in desperate need of a big sum of money to save themselves. But this time, the gang of thugs hired by Gi-hun spots the salesman and starts following him. Then they tip off Gi-hun and follow the salesman into the residential area. But these thugs are greedy too. They are so afraid that the big prize of 1 billion won promised by Gi-hun will slip away that they want to grab the salesman right away. But they underestimate the gap in strength between them. Even when they take out their knives, they are no match for the salesman at all. The salesman just uses his suitcase and beats them up until they are black and blue. Then he takes them away on the spot. But Gi-hun is too far away. He is speeding all the way and gets stopped by the police and gets a ticket. By the time he arrives, there is only a pool of ketchup and the knives left behind. He searches anxiously, but he has no idea that the salesman is right on the rooftop and has already spotted him. The salesman in the Squid Game is really something. He takes the two guys back to the safe house and even wants to interrogate them himself. He even turns on the gramophone and listens to opera for fun while announcing the game rules with a smile. He tells the two thugs to play double-handed rock, paper, scissors, then retract one hand to determine the winner. The loser will have to play Russian roulette. There is 1 bullet and 5 empty chambers, so a 1/6 chance of getting shot. If anyone violates the rules, they'll be judged as the loser and will have to take a bullet to the head. These two thugs have never participated in the Squid Game before, so much so that they are on the verge of soiling themselves. During the first few rounds, there are wins and losses. The salesman fires 3 shots in a row, and all of them are blanks. These two thugs are just glad that they are lucky to be alive. But who would have thought that the salesman suddenly picks up the bullet on the table and puts it into the pistol, leaving only 1 empty chamber? Now the chance of getting shot skyrockets to 5/6. He just wants to have some fun for himself. It's just like the Squid Game officials. They say they want fairness, but the rules are actually tilted towards the privileged class. They just want to make the lower class contestants fight against each other. Even when there's a unified vote and no canvassing is allowed, they still let the managers vote, manipulate the votes to a tie, and also turn a blind eye to the fights among the contestants, letting them kill each other. All this is just to make the game more exciting. The contestants seem to have choices, but in fact, they're all just special parts designed by the people in power. This is the cruelest part of the Squid Game, the rock, paper, scissors game. The loser will die right away. The thugs grit their teeth and stretch out their hands. But the younger thug gets so scared that he accidentally puts out 2 rocks. The older thug has paper in his left hand and scissors in his right hand, with one option ensuring the younger thug's loss and the other his own. The younger thug is so scared that he bursts into tears and doesn't dare to look at the result of the game. The salesman, on the other hand, is really interested and bends down, waiting for the answer. But the older thug, instead of taking his hand back, chooses to save the family man, younger thug, sacrificing himself in the process. The older thug's final shake of his head is probably to tell the younger thug not to be sad. And then he is gone. After the little game ends, the younger thug loses the will to resist and spills all the information. The salesman then goes straight to Gi-hun's room, looking relaxed and casual. He is holding a gun in one hand and drinking children's milk in the other, looking really childish. He doesn't even bother to wipe the ketchup off his face. It is also a way to intimidate Gi-hun, but Gi-hun isn't afraid at all. He demands to meet the salesman's boss, mocking him for being a nobody and for his subway station trickery. He sees through the salesman's true face. Even though he looks like everyone else in society on the outside, on the inside, he has already become part of the Squid Game, just as cruel and crazy. The salesman in the Squid Game confesses his life story. He used to be at the very bottom of the hierarchy, just doing the dirty and tiring job of carrying the contestants' bodies. But he wholeheartedly agrees with the Squid Game.
이 세상에서 아무짝에 쓸모없는 쓰레기다.
He believes that the game is actually doing good for society, cleaning up groups of trash one after another. He works hard and later ascends to the rank of a triangle-shaped soldier, armed with a gun. Even when his father participates in the game and kneels in front of him, crying and begging him to spare his life, he doesn't show any pity or hesitation. Instead, he is even happier.
이 일이 내 적성에 잘 맞는구나.
For the salesman, life is full of Squid Games everywhere. He was never a contestant, but a cold-blooded spectator. He even has control over the lives of these social outcasts. So when Gi-hun keeps calling him lackey, it really enrages him. How dare a former nobody like you look down on me? That's why he plays Russian roulette with Gi-hun and ends up losing his own life. It's a pity that the salesman's character disappears so quickly. Actually, the audience all hope that Gong-yu can stay on screen a bit longer. The salesman in the Squid Game comes from the bottom. He keeps climbing up for the sake of honor, but he looks down on those who were once like him at the bottom. Even without the game's requirements, he pays out of his own pocket to buy materials and test human nature in the park. Maybe that crazy bam 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 is Gong-yu's improvisation. It is such a huge contrast to his polite appearance before and shows the violent side of this character vividly. When it ends, he can calm down in a second and slowly tidy up his hair. That scene is really chilling. At the beginning of the second season, 2 people are gone in one day, but the police station doesn't react at all. Nobody even notices the bodies or reports it. This also shows from the side that the power behind the game is extremely powerful. They can not only manipulate the game, but also control the real society. Maybe there are moles inside the police station. Otherwise, the Squid Game wouldn't have been held since 1988, once a year. Every year, 455 people go missing, all with huge debts on their backs. But until 2024, nobody pays attention to it. It's worth mentioning that Gong-yoo also starred in Guardian, the Lonely and Great God before. He played the male lead in it. He's one of the most popular top actors in South Korea. Even though it was just a guest appearance, he is able to change his warm guy image and create this complex and brutal two-faced character, the salesman, in less than an hour of screen time. His acting skills are really amazing. Maybe after the 3rd season, the production team will start filling in the blanks and consider shooting prequels about the characters, shaping the stories of the villains like Number 1 and the Salesman, and even revealing the origin story of the Squid Game. I guess there will be even more exciting plots then. This is the special feature about the role of the salesman played by Gong-yoo in the 2nd season of Squid Game. If you have a favorite character, remember to write it down in the comment section. We'll continue to make more videos next time. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. See you next time.